Good morning and welcome to the Lucidus podcast. My name is Shelley, and on this podcast I explore everything because I believe everything is connected to everything else. So if you touch one of the jewels on Indra's net, you touch them all. And also because I believe in the infinite, unbounded potential within each of us. And this morning I have chosen not to do my normal routine and to take a pause because I'm working with my sort of the theme of this year, and it's obviously a new theme, but it's also new for me to even have a theme. I don't generally tend to do that. Many years ago I would set very distinct, crisp goals, and I would achieve them, damn near every single one of them. And that became exhausting. And so I stopped doing that. So this year I was doing a New Year's Day event with my dear friend Curtis. And as part of it, we did some vision boarding. And I wasn't really going to do the vision boarding. And then during kind of this beautiful quiet time, where everyone was very much involved in it, I just ran over and grabbed a poster board and a few pictures and markers and started just writing something, just to creating, just to see what would come. And what came were the words open-hearted participation. So open-hearted participation. And I briefly spoke about that in a podcast a few months ago. And the words have really stuck to me not because those words themselves, obviously they're very beautiful, but because of the association that the person that spoke them, cannot remember who it was listening to a podcast. They were talking about surrender. And when the interviewer asked the person, what do you mean by surrender? And I know I've said this before, I'm going to say it again though, because it's so new for me. Surrender for me has always been letting go, like a very, almost like a river flowing, let it go, you surrender it. And the interviewee, when they were asked, what is surrender? And they said, surrender is open-hearted participation. And I was like, I've never, ever surrendered in that way. Surrender for me has always been, first of all, it was a very passive state. So I was more like flowing with the river. I'd sort of given in, so to speak. Did not feel like I was participating at all. So surrendered. So just that word alone. But then open-hearted, I would say energetically when I surrendered, I almost sort of like closed in. My surrender was very much a closing in and becoming very passive. Just almost the antithesis of what this interviewee was talking about. So it didn't surprise me when I wrote the words open-hearted participation, because they've just been flitting around, for weeks and weeks. I think it's been like 2 months since I heard that podcast. And also how it relates to surrender. So many moments in life where I realize I do need to surrender. Like whatever is happening is beyond what I can see or understand, and I'm getting no guidance, so to speak. And I think, okay, I just need to surrender. And I immediately go to the habitual, passive, sort of closing in, passive, flowing with the river, almost like cautiously watching. If that makes sense. Like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna surrender here, but I'm also gonna like sort of bring my canoe over to the edge of the river and see what's happening. So for me to surrender and participate, and to continue to stay open-hearted and participate with the river in the moment, very, very different energetically and also physically, mentally, emotionally. And so for this year, so I've had the vision board, so it's February, it's almost my birthday, mid-February. So for this year, I think I started off pretty strong. 1st of January, I kept showing up to challenging moments, open-hearted, participating with the river and the flow, and just, and then in the last couple of weeks, I wouldn't say I failed, but it hasn't felt very open-hearted or participative, but I also haven't been as closed and passive as I was, so baby steps. Um, so the other thing I wanted to say about the open-hearted participation is it doesn't allow me, when I really think about those words, they don't allow me to dictate or control in the same ways that I have in the past. I can participate. I can very much participate. A lot of times my participation is not open-hearted. And that's how I feel like I've been the last couple of weeks is I have been participating and I have been participating with the flow of the river. Have not been open-hearted. Have not been open-hearted. And I knew it and I've known it and I've seen it. And I just couldn't show up to this particular situation in an open-hearted way. And this is the part that sort of breaks my own heart. Nothing matters, very little matters more to me than the situation of the last couple of weeks. And it mattered so much to me that I couldn't show up with an open heart. And that in that lies the irony, the teacher, the lesson, the wisdom, the insight, that I cared so much about what happened, about the outcome, that I was unable, and I tried. I was just, something in me just would not open up and participate in an open-hearted way. And I finally just kind of relinquished myself to being sort of stuck in participative surrender and not open-hearted. And I can just think of few situations in life where I wish I could have wanted that more. There's sort of, it hasn't come to an end, but there's been a big shift in that situation that just allows me more space. And in that space, I'm able to be open-hearted again. Of course, it's easy when you're it's pretty easy when you're on your own, when you're not in the situation, but you're just in your own situation. So it's easier to be open-hearted because it feels safe. So some of the wisdom that I'm gaining from this last situation is the situations I care most about might be the ones I show up the worst for. Not new, but again, a reminder. And also sort of inviting me to consider, are there ways for me to not care so much? That's not the right words, because I do care and I want to care. And there's nothing wrong with caring. But is there a way for me not to be so I don't know, invested in it? I was just really stuck in in some pattern. I was unable to really share how I was feeling about things and how I wanted it to go. And I would say it was two-sided in that I didn't really want to be fully transparent about how badly I wanted it to go a certain way. I didn't want to show how much I cared. And also it didn't feel like from the other side that wanted to be received. The other parties involved had kind of made decisions, and those decisions were going to happen, and so I didn't see what reason or purpose it would have for me to really be transparent about how I felt and how I wish it would go when they'd already decided. And it also didn't seem like they wanted to hear, like it was irrelevant because they'd already decided they were going to do that. And there were multiple people, and everybody was kind of making their own decision. But I didn't know how to, it's weird because I don't even know the words to use. I didn't know how to let go in such a way that it was okay that it didn't work out. Maybe those are the words I'm looking for. I didn't know how to let it be okay that it wasn't going to work out the way I wanted. And it reminds me of the last podcast I did with Annika, the three questions, and she said some of the most powerful words in her life are "I accept, I accept." And I remember when she said that, I thought, wow, there's so many things in life it's so difficult for me to accept, and sometimes I just don't. I don't even know if I fully accepted this new situation that's just happened, even though I've seen it coming for weeks, months. So how do I get to a place where I can accept that it isn't going to work out and still show up with an open heart and participate, especially with the people I really care about in my life and want them to remain a part of my life, regardless of the new circumstances or situations, whether that's with siblings or children or friends, old partners. I was with my therapist yesterday. I know she's doing a good job when she starts to tell me things I already know about myself. I realize, okay, she's getting it. Like she's seeing me. That's important. And she said, you kind of have a tendency to, you go all in, you're wholehearted, and then it's like I put too much in, and then when it doesn't come out, what did she say? She said, which is funny because maybe she's just using my words back at me because I say this a lot, which is fine because she's speaking in my language, which helps me. She says, but your pendulum swings all the way to the other side and then it's none. It's like all or none. And she said, and you kind of miss that sweet spot where the people in your life can't show up in the way that you would like, and don't. But maybe they could show up in just like little ways. And you sort of miss just maybe the little small things, the small ways they could be a part of your life. So I'm definitely open to looking at that. I would say that's 100% true. I think what has been missing there is the conversation of, hey, this is like I feel like I'm showing up a lot here, and I don't know that it's reciprocated. Um, and and then the honest conversation, maybe it is, and I just don't feel like it is. But then and I've been doing this recently, and so I would like people to do this with me, where I've literally told people like, hey, I feel like you're asking me to show up in this certain way, and I'm here to tell you I absolutely cannot. I absolutely cannot. My bandwidth isn't that big. I can show up for you in this way, in about this amount. If that works for you, I'd love to do that for you, and be there for you in that way. And so far it's gone well. I'm like, this is what I can do. Does that work for you? And they're like, yeah, I appreciate that. I would like people to be as honest with me as that, being able to say, yeah, no, I'm sorry, like my bandwidth isn't that big, for you at this time in this way, but this is how I can show up. And I think that clears things up a lot for me because then I go, okay, this is how you can and want to show up right now. Okay, then I understand what I have to work with, as opposed to me saying like, why aren't you showing up in this way? And them being defensive or angry, like, why are you asking so much of me? As opposed to saying, oh, because I can't at this time, or I don't want to at this time, but I can show up in this way. I think those conversations, and I actually don't find them that hard. I think they just don't happen. I don't think I understand that they should even happen. And I will say this. I've realized recently that I don't understand so much of what goes on. I really don't understand people, hardly understand myself, don't understand so much of situations. I sat back yesterday and tried to like make heads or tails of the last few weeks of this situation with multiple people moving in multiple ways and making decisions, and the outcome 100% I knew like weeks and weeks and weeks ago because everybody had made it clear what their decisions were. And so I knew it wasn't going to go the right way, but looking back, I was hoping for 2020 hindsight. I still look at that situation and I cannot see how we got where we are. Cannot see. And I can't see how we could have fixed it. I couldn't do more than I did. I know I wish, and that's what I kept saying to myself yesterday, I wish it had gone differently. I wish we could have done this differently. And then I think about, well, what could I have done? And other than being more open-hearted and transparent about how much I cared, that was the part that I could see. But I still don't know that it would have changed anything because they'd already made up their minds. And it felt like every time I tried to do that, I irritated people. But then I asked myself, well, what could they have done differently? And I don't think they could because they were making the decision they wanted to make. So how could they have chosen differently other than choosing what they wanted? So I just don't understand so much. I don't understand. I was thinking this morning, I had a little cry this morning when I was thinking about the loss of what's happened, and I just felt this incredible pulling of love, like love was just pulling so hard, like, and I just said I never knew love could stretch so far, like it's just like something just pulling at me, pulling me, just this huge pulling. And I wouldn't say it was pulling me out, or it was just pulling, like love is. I thought, I don't understand love. I don't understand what it is, what it does, why. Oh, I wrote this cute poem. I read it at this Valentine's Day. If I could pull it up really quick. I don't think it's on my phone. This Valentine's Day poem for a dinner party. I'm going to see if I can pull it up because I thought it was really sweet. And I read it at the dinner party. Everybody was supposed to bring something, so I read it at the dinner party. And I don't think anybody thought it was as sweet as I did. And I was really kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, I thought that was really cute, and I thought y'all would really like it. I mean, everybody clapped, but and again, it could be just one of those things where, whatever, it just wasn't usually. Anyway, I don't want to take my time to look this up, but I'm going to see if I can quickly find it. So that's maybe it's this one. I don't think it is. All right, this is lame. This is not what you want to be doing. So confused, blah 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 blah, all this stuff. Okay, so this is why I decided to do a podcast this morning, because I have found that my words still tend to be very powerful. Meaning, when I speak it tends to be a powerful seed that, but it's more than, I don't want to say it's, I don't even want to compare it to a seed, because it's not like a seed, because a seed, takes a good time, it takes a good bit to grow. It's almost like the spark. It's like the spark that starts the fire, because it tends to quickly initiate that. So what I wanted to talk about, this open-hearted participation, I want to see more and more clearly. I'm seeing when I am and when I'm not. Super clear on that. That's not a problem. But I don't understand what is preventing me from showing up the way I want. Like the things in me. and I know I've talked about IFS, I'm going to talk about it again, internal family systems. And it's like having just different personalities in you. Some people would say, oh, you have a multiple personality disorder. I have multiple personalities. Don't know if it's a disorder. It's just me. Meaning I have the one in me that wants to be open-hearted. I have the one in me that wants to be closed-hearted. I have the one in me that wants to participate. I have the one in me that wants to be passive and not. So I have all these different, parts of me, internal family systems. It's like a family. And I'm trying to get to know it better, trying to listen to the different parts and understand what they're doing, what they need, blah, blah, blah. You can look up Richard Schwartz and look it online and read all about it. Um, there is something in me that has a laser, and I mean wicked sharp laser focus and ability to quickly and quite astutely see things. And it can be very helpful. Most times it's not. I was trying to have a conversation with that part and understand it a little better this morning. It wasn't going very well. Couldn't quite access it. And that part of me is it can be very good. And I don't want to, but it could be so destructive because it can so quickly dissect people, situations, myself included in that, into just the minutest parts. And when looked at that way, they are just a string of inadequacy, failures, just, yeah, just not good at all. It reminds me, if you've ever done Vipassana meditation, Goenka, in one of his 10-day speeches, he talks about how we think someone is beautiful or something is beautiful. And then he says, okay, well, what is it about the person let's say it's a person. What is it about the person that's so beautiful? Oh, they have such beautiful hair, such beautiful hair. And then he's like, oh, you think it's such beautiful hair? And then you find a hair on your toothbrush. It's not that beautiful. The hair's not that beautiful. Just, whatever. Meaning the whole, when you look at the whole, it is beautiful. I can step back and look at the whole of life and say, that is beautiful. And then I dissect it and I look at a situation and I go, that situation is total crap. It's the same type of thing. That part of me, which can be so helpful in dissecting things, to understand things, clearly very helpful. But more often than not, I feel like it's trying to protect me and is trying to dissect things to find the thing that's going to hurt me. But what it really does, I think that's what it's trying to do. But what it really does is that it dissects things in such a way that all I can see in other people, and let me do other people first. What I can see in other people is just all their flaws. I'm like, man, you gotta work on that, and you gotta work. I mean, have you noticed the way you did it? Or I look at a situation, I'm like, they really need to. Have they looked at the way they're, like, yeah, I can see that pretty clearly, and I'm certainly not the best. I know we all have this, and we all have this. Many of us have this gift. I tend to have an uncanny ability to see things long before other people do. And then they come back like 10 years later and they're like, oh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't see it when you said it, but I see it now. I was like, oh, great, thanks, whatever. Okay, mind you, I'm blind in so many other ways. So whatever. Okay, but when it turns on me, I get to feel that same like burning laser judgmental viscerate, just dissecting and viscerating it. It's like, it was like lasers just ripping me apart. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible when that thing turns its gaze on me. And so obviously it must be terrible when it turns its gaze on others. I'm so sorry. So me speaking today is my attempt to light that spark, get that spark to light that little fire. No idea where I am. We'll see. To light that spark that will, I don't even want to say the words. That's how scared I am to truly like surrender into this open-hearted participation into situations that I wouldn't choose. I would say I don't want, but obviously if I'm willing to participate, then I do want some part of it. Yeah, so the flame that will light the fire of my heart again to open-heartedly participate in life and with life in ways that I haven't in many, many years. And I would say there is some fear, but there's also, I hate to use this word, but that's the word that comes. It's almost like this resignation that I know by doing this, my heart will hurt. One of the mysteries of love. So I can say yesterday when my heart was just hurting so badly, as the culmination of that situation happened, I didn't know what to do, and I kept saying that just out loud, like I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, and I realized there was nothing to do. It'd just be with, the hurting heart. So I guess I'm my own way inviting that capacity to hurt again and to love again and to participate again. And I know it's not always the hurting in love, but that's the part I haven't fully accepted, that that's part of it. So, and I don't think Annika would mind, so I'm not going to say anything personal about it, but after we finished the 3 questions recording, sadly, I have some of the best conversations with my guests after the recording. We stop recording and then we chat. And during that, she was talking about just the work that she's put into, or not even the work, that's not the word she used, but just all that she's put into her relationship with her partner. And I just marveled at that. Just so proud of her, and for both of them. At just the beautiful, beautiful attempts at love that are love. I'm using all the wrong words because I don't even know, right? I feel like I'm stepping into a pool of water I've literally never swam in. And it's like getting to know the waters, getting to know their depths and getting to know the temperatures and the way the currents flow. And this is a different pool of water than I've ever been in my whole life. I know how to swim, but I don't know these waters. And I think it's important to know the waters that you choose to swim in. They're not all the same. So, and then for whatever reason, just a shout out to my dad. I think I've shared this before, but I had a dream. It wasn't a dream. That's some kind of prophetic vision. Never believed in. Just totally atheist when I had it. Estranged from my dad. That he and I were going to clean all these pools of water. And that dream was, damn near 2 decades ago. My dad's been dead for 10 years almost. Anyway, and I sense that we have done what needs to be done. Doesn't mean we're done, but that the pools of water are clear and clean and we can now swim. So thank you, Dad. He's over. I'll show you a few things. So if you look behind me, this is all my earrings. My sister Emily helped me put that up when I moved in, and then my meditation cushion over there. There's my two darlings. And then my altar. And probably can't see it super well, but there's a yellow golf ball. Lots of stories of golfing with my dad, not because I golf, but because I took him golfing when he had Alzheimer's. And those were tales to tell. And I have those tales to tell one day. All right. I love you all. And I even love those of you that I cannot say that to. I love you all. Have a beautiful day.